In our investigation for 9.6, we looked at completing the square when our a value was 1, or in other words, that there was no value out in front of x squared. So now we're going to look at how we complete the square if there is a value out in front of x squared, if our a is not 1. So in example A, we have an equation where we have an a value of 3. Okay, so that's going to add just one additional step for us when we are completing the square. We are going to start the same way we did last time by isolating the x squared in the x term by adding 8 to both sides. That gets us to 3x squared plus 18x equals 30. Now, before we can actually complete the square, we need to factor out that a value, that 3. So we are going to bring the 3 out front. If I divide 3x squared by 3, I'm just left with x squared. And if I divide 18x by 3, I am left with 6x. Okay? And I am going to leave room here to complete my square. And on the other side of the equal sign, remember, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. And since we weren't just adding our perfect square, we're adding 3 times our perfect square. On the other side, we need to do the same. Once we have factored out that 3, now we can set up our box. So remember, we always take our b term and we cut it in half. Okay, so when we take our b term here, it's 6x. 6x divided by 2 is 3x. So that's what goes in our opposite corners. Okay, we always have x squared in the top, and then we need to figure out what our last box is going to be. So if we build outwards on our box, this is x and a 3 and x and a 3. Okay, and to get our last box, we multiply 3 times 3 to get 9. So this value, our perfect square here, is what's going to be added in both sides of our equation. So we add 9 here. We add 9 here. That allows us to take our x squared plus 6x plus 9 and rewrite it as a binomial squared. In our box, we have x and 3 and x and 3, which is x plus 3 and x plus 3, or x plus 3 squared. So that's what we're going to replace the inside of our parentheses with on the left side of our equation. So we have 3, and now we have x plus 3 squared equals, and then we have 30 plus 3 times 9. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 30 is 57. Now we are in a form that we can solve by square roots. First, I need to isolate my squared, so I got to get rid of that 3 out front. When I divide, those 3 cancels, and then I divide on the other side as well, which gets me to x plus 3 squared equals 19. Then we can square root, giving us x plus 3 equals a positive or negative 4.36. And lastly, to get x alone, I subtract 3 from both sides, which gives me x is equal to, now remember, don't forget your 2 solutions. We have a positive 4.36 minus 3, which would be 1.36. And we have a negative 4.36 minus 3, which would be a negative 7.36. Okay? So go ahead and use this example A as a model to help you do the guided practice below. And once you're done, watch the next video to check your work.